So basically, I like mascot horror games in the year of our Lord, 2024. I've liked FNAF since I was 10, I've watched playthroughs of both Bendy Games and Baldi's Basics, and I'm probably the biggest security breach apologist on the planet. The reputation of mascot horror has been kinda mixed, especially as time goes on, and a few select releases caused most people to lose respect for the genre, and not gonna lie, I kinda get it. Due to the genre's popularity, especially among children, it feels more like studios are creating mascot horror games not out of love for horror or the desire to make a game, but as a way to advertise to an easy-to-market-to demographic of kids that watch gaming YouTubers who will inevitably ask their parents for merch of these mediocre games. However, a very recent title has given me some hope for the genre, that title being Indigo Park, a mascot horror game by UniqueGeese that currently exists as a free-to-play demo. The game revolves around the player character doing some urban exploration and taking a look at the abandoned Indigo Park, only to be led around the place by the park's central mascot, Rambly the raccoon. You're the first person to visit the park in years, so he's very excited to show you around and make sure you have fun on the park's many attractions. Of course, though, he can't keep up the friendly persona forever when the park's secrets start to show themselves. So, I'm gonna try going in depth about what I think this demo does well, as well as a few constructive critiques in hopes that the upcoming chapters can build on the fun premise. Of course, this review is gonna contain a truckload of spoilers, so maybe don't watch this if you want to experience Indigo Park yourself. Again, it's free. Anyways, it's review time, which I shall start with. Starting with the art direction, immediately it's my favorite part of the game. The art within the park itself is very cute and definitely suits the Disney Park-esque setting, and some of the set pieces are genuinely beautiful. The theater, train ride, and Ferris wheel are probably my favorite things to look at so far. Also, small detail, but these little keychains are absolutely adorable and I would definitely buy them and put them all over my backpack. That and some areas of this park are genuinely pretty spooky. Specifically the landing pad, which is your typical playplace area with colorful padded floors, plastic net walls, and tubes reminiscent of a McDonald's. The closed-in, claustrophobic build of this place is genuinely terrifying, and made me deeply uncomfortable. Good job. Rambly is also adorable. He reminds me of Kinito Pet, but not as psychopathic and obsessive and stuff. His simple and round design is very cute, very huggable. The entire cast is really cute, who am I kidding? Their designs are all very appealing and would definitely make for some banger mascots in the real world. As for my critiques, I will say the, monster versions of the mascots are not very intimidating. I think it's neat that they move so organically, almost reminding me of Glitchtrap where they look more like people in suits than animatronics, which we do see broken down around the park sometimes. But yeah, so far the mascots aren't too spooky in my opinion. They still seem too cute and clean to really be threatening, even to me, and trust me, I'm a coward. I get spooked very easily. Going off of that, the animation for Molly's friend looks kinda goofy, I'm sorry. The fact that she takes such quick but tiny steps while her arms are glued to her sides, plus the fact that her lunge towards the door is so short just kind of kills the tension for me. I think a neat fix would be giving her longer strides, having her sway and maybe crash into walls, and having her use her wings sooner would make her a bit more threatening. Maybe having some sort of demonic cry echo through the halls. And if the door was just a bit bigger, imagine not knowing what to do against this deformed bird that's been chasing you, only to hear the piercing call of the creature behind you. You turn and see that the creature is flying to catch up to you that much faster, beak agape, until you're finally saved by Rambly closing the door on her. The gameplay itself is a bit confusing at times, mainly in terms of what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go. As much as I do appreciate a game that doesn't hold the player's hand too much, it is kind of repetitive. Aside from walking around, you don't interact with the world much beyond picking up a few gears and turning some blocks. Though I was also in a Discord call during my first playthrough of the game, and let me tell you, trying to focus on in-game dialogue and the call at the same time is not easy for me, so some of the confusion was definitely my own fault and no fault of the game itself. The park is very fun to explore though, it's very cute and has some fun little details. The collectibles make my brain very happy. I got very excited when I found a cute plush or something I could pick up and take with me. The little text descriptions are also very entertaining, I'll say that. A little arcade game was also a really cute addition. Again, the visuals were very cute and I'd like to see more of that. though that may also just be my FNAF brain talking. Would be neat if these games also gave some hints towards what went wrong at the park, especially considering the one character we never hear from during our train ride with Rambly, Salem the skunk. This is the only time you really see them, and they use some weird substance to make Molly super hostile, almost like how she was when the player showed up. This might just be a coincidence, but it would be neat to see if that leads up to anything. That and the little berry collectible showing up after beating the game is interesting to note. The story isn't too deep at the moment, since of course the game is only a demo still, but it is enough to get me intrigued. Rambly is definitely an interesting character, being solely an AI companion that guides you through the park in hopes of reliving the good old days of when it was still open to the public. He's very cute, albeit a bit naive, considering he spent so much time waiting for a guest to arrive that he didn't even notice how far the park had fallen from grace. I will say though, the part where he breaks character, drops the mascot cadence, and confesses to the player that the park has been abandoned for ages and all he wanted was for anyone to visit the park again was weirdly endearing.
I need to be honest about something. The park has been inactive for years. Employees stopped showing up, guests too. The mascots are...
Massive props to Otterboy VA for voicing this adorable little trash panda. Rambly has kind of a similar vibe to Freddy or Sun from Security Breach, being a comforting presence that just wants you to have some fun while they're around. However, unlike Freddy, Rambly isn't able to protect you if things go sour. He can somewhat control the park's mechanisms, sure, but he can't completely shield you from whatever's lurking around the place. I will say though, I find it kind of funny that Lloyd is the only person he excludes from his friend group. I know we didn't get to hear his thoughts on Salem since, well... but just hearing him solely exclude this pompous lion and not the character that seems to be the villain of the group is kind of funny. Speaking of Salem, this game is definitely setting up some kind of mystery around them, I think. The fact that their cutout on the train ride is broken, and Rambly himself seems to break when trying to talk about them, and the previously mentioned arcade game makes their identity a bit ambiguous. We just know that they're the villain of the group and that's kind of it, but again, Rambly doesn't exclude them from his friend group while we're on the train ride. What this could mean, I don't really know yet. The state of the monsters in the park is also definitely some cause for alarm. Of course, given that this is a Disney-style amusement park with several animal mascots, and the fact that we see broken down animatronics around the park would make us think that the dangers of the park would be the animatronics themselves. We immediately get a curveball thrown at that assumption when we see Lloyd in the theater, his movements too smooth and organic to be mechanical. This is turned up to 100 when Rambly saves us from Molly, as we see blood and muscle inside her when she's decapitated. Speaking of these characters, it's about time I actually talked about the horror of the game since, well, it is a mascot horror game after all. So far, the horror of Indigo Park is rather subtle. Nothing too scary happens yet outside our encounters with a monstrous Lloyd and Molly. Rambly gives us a sense of comfort in the park as well as a break from the tension with some silly dialogue. Of course, when Rambly isn't around, the park has an eerie silence that leaves the player on edge. It feels disturbingly silent when we don't have Rambly incessantly talking about the rides or the company trademark that expired the day before we arrived. I will say, I wasn't very scared of the game myself due to the tension not lasting too long and the character models not exactly being threatening to look at. But I don't want to hold that over the game's head since it is just a demo, and UniqueGeese did say that the scares were minimal since it was just a small taste of the world. It does have a lot of potential though. I know from Abandoned by Disney that an abandoned theme park can make for a truly unsettling setting. A suggestion I have as a professional coward is just to capitalize off of the tension and suspense. And don't overuse your scary mascots and jump scares. Maybe don't immediately show the monster to the player when exploring a new area, but drop some hints to make them doubt whether they're truly alone here. Sound cues, little silhouettes, items shaking if something heavy is walking by, something to fuel the player's imagination of what horrible things could be there with them. I will say I feel like Lloyd and Molly weren't used to the fullest since the sections where we see them are rather short and they're very easily stopped by some crates, your critter cuff, and a mechanical door. That, and we immediately get a good look at Finley when we arrive at the entrance of Oceanic Odyssey. I think it would have been neat if instead, we just see this long, dark silhouette on the aquarium floor with some sort of deep, bellowing noise. Russian noises are scary. Please take advantage of that. This part is just gonna have some little things that I couldn't really fit into their own sections. Firstly, the ambience and atmosphere of the setting is very nice. Again, the landing pad was terrifying and I hated every bit of it. Molly's chase theme is a banger. Rambley's review is very cute, and in general, all the voice actors did amazing. Lloyd may be my second favorite at the moment just based on the introduction alone.
Hey there, Lloyd.
Do not shame me with that common folk name!
Recti did amazing there. The little nods to Disney are also pretty neat. The Critter Coast being similar to Disney's magic bands, the statue of Isaac, Indigo, and Rambley resembling the statue of both Disney and Mickey Mouse, and the little Rambley Ferris wheel. Also, there's a bit of dialogue that Rambley has for the Rambley mask item, containing an audio log from 2 employees, one of them being named Jackson, and they talk about going to Vegas. I really like Day Shift at Freddy's, okay? The devs just earned even more respect from me if it is in fact a Day Shift reference. In the end, I think Indigo Park is a game with a lot of potential and love put into it. It does give kid-friendly horror vibes, but that isn't inherently a bad thing. A lot of kids just like spooky things, and they're gonna gravitate to them whether we want them to or not. I will say though, I really appreciate how the devs seem to actually care about the game and want to make it into something special, rather than just pumping out some mediocre 3 fodder slop to easily capitalize off of YouTubers and children. That and the fact that the demo is free makes it accessible to a ton of people, which means that there's even more chances for constructive feedback on the game. I have a lot of hope for this game, and I hope the developers keep up the good work and maintain that same passion throughout the project. Beyond that though, I don't have much else to say on the matter, so yeah. I don't know how to do an outro, so go give the game a try, I guess. Bye.